Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're out here with our plants again today. Taking a look. There's a frog. Love our frog. But we're taking a look at our plants today because I wanted to talk about plant hardiness zones. I had a question about that. What are hardiness zones? Okay, so plant hardiness zones, frankly, you have to think about your individual plants when you think about plant hardiness zones because each plant has a minimum temp it can survive. Okay? Absolutely has a minimum temp that it will survive, and if it gets colder than that, it's probably going to die. So you want to select plants that can withstand your climate. So how do you do that? Well, North America has 13 hardiness zones. By the way, these are my purple beans. I'm very excited they're finally growing. Yes, I planted them in the later part of the season. Hi, Bowser. Hi, Sweet Pea. So yes, I planted them in the later part of the season because I wanted fall beans, and we have some yellow beans happening. It's good. Anyway, that's not the point. Point of this video was to talk about hardiness zones. So North America has 13 hardiness zones. These are based on your average minimum winter temperature. Okay, so our average winter temperature here is around minus 26, 28 Celsius. That's our average temperature. We get just as many days that are colder than that are warmer than that. So we have minus 40 here. There's vodka in the window. He's awake now. He was asleep. He's still a baby. So, and yes, there's my Halloween decorations. No, I'm not taking them down yet. Halloween all year round. That's what we're going with. Halloween forever. Anyway, so your hardiness zones are based on your average winter temperature. That doesn't mean that it doesn't get colder than that, but it means that's your average. Okay, so that is generally what you're looking at. Horticulturists and other experts rate plants depending on their ability to survive cold temperatures. So if you have a plant that is definitely not going to survive below freezing, then it is not rated for zones where it gets below freezing regularly. Okay, it doesn't mean it doesn't ever get below freezing. It just means it's rare. Hardiness ratings are usually found on labels, catalogs, books, and you can look up hardiness ratings as well. So, like, these guys won't survive freezing. That guy will. So you can look up your hardiness scale online. You can check your zone online. Annuals are not rated. Okay, annuals don't need a hardiness zone rating because they don't really have a hardiness zone rating. Ah, little tiny pumpkin. So they don't really have a hardiness zone rating because they're annuals. The exception is if the annual is actually a perennial. So we grow a lot of plants here, because I'm up in Canada, as perennials that are, or as annuals, sorry, that are actually perennials if you go further south. So a plant that has a hardiness rating that you think is an annual is actually a perennial. So it's just not a perennial where you live because it won't survive your winters. But that doesn't mean it's not a perennial somewhere else. But true annuals, plants that grow, go to seed, and then completely die off, that plant's not coming back, only its seeds will sprout next year. True annuals do not have a hardiness rating. They don't need it. Look, we dug up our potatoes. We love our potatoes. They're yummy. Potatoes are delicious. We still have some more to dig up. We're doing that in a few more days. That's the plan. We like our potatoes. Yeah. Actually, let's go this way and check on our lilacs and stuff. Anyway, the American Horticultural Society has developed these maps. Okay, they also have a heat map. So yes, your hardiness zone matters because you do not want to plant something that is just not going to grow or just will not withstand your winters. You don't want to think it's a perennial. Turns out it's not a perennial for you because your zone is just too cold. So it's important to note those zones. But heat matters too. So the American Horticultural Society developed a heat zone map as well. Heat zones are starting to turn up on plant labels because it matters. Certain plants are just too susceptible to heat. So something that grows really nicely up here in my northern climate, might have too much sensitivity to heat to plant in the south. Bowser's walking with me. She's actually a really good cat. She's my buddy. Hi, Sweet Pea. So yes, you absolutely want to check the heat maps as well for your area. So it's going to be windy out here, just fair warning. Once we exit into the front of the property, out here near the field, it is actually pretty windy. We've got wind that comes off the lake that's on the other side of those trees. Anyway, here we are. In the wind. That's fantastic. So you want to pay attention to your hardiness zone and your heat zone if that's available for your area. If you don't know your zone, you can probably ask at your local garden center. And generally, garden centers are not selling plants that won't grow in your area, or if they do, they specifically tell you they need to be indoor plants. So the problem really arises when you're ordering plants from somewhere else. So if I order plants that come from British Columbia, well, they have a very, hi Sweet Pea, they have a very different climate than we do. They don't get near the winters that we get. So something that'll grow in British Columbia will not grow here in central Canada. So you do need to double check where you're ordering from. That's when it comes up. But generally, your garden center can help you with that. That was funny, Bowser. Generally, your garden center can absolutely help you with that. So if you don't know your zone, ask at the garden center. Ask about the plants you're buying. This is actually an important thing. You want to make sure that you're getting what you need. So you can tell how far into fall we are by looking at our lilacs. They're starting to drop their leaves, turning color. They're fine. These are hardy for our zone. They'll come back in the spring. But yeah, that's what's happening. Things are starting to drop their leaves. These guys will be fine because these are evergreens and they stay green in the winter anyway. So they're fine. But yes, check your hardiness zones. That is actually really important. Hi, Bowser. So your hardiness zones matter. Okay? Coming back around now. Plants are generally labeled with their hardiness zone. Okay, they generally are. If they're not, ask before you buy it. Just double check if you're unsure. If you think it's a perennial and you want to grow it, just ask. Generally, if you go to a local garden center and you go to the perennial section, those plants are perennials for your hardiness zone. Okay, if you think they aren't, ask. But generally, they absolutely are. You might be in a subzone. Okay, so like 4A or 5B. These have quite specific growing conditions. So you want to talk to local experts, do your research and all that kind of good stuff before you invest in really expensive plants. But again, if you really are not sure what you're doing, okay, you're really just not sure. I've got some beans that can be picked. But if you're really just not sure, go with, get some plants here. If you're really not sure, go with what they sell in the perennial section. Hi, Bowser. Go with what they sell in the perennial section of your local garden center because generally they're pretty smart about these kind of things. Okay, so generally that's what you want to do. This one I can pick. Some of these are not pickable, and a couple of these I'm leaving because I want them to make beans so I can plant beans later. But some of them are harvestable. These ones aren't yet. The purple beans take a little longer. Anyway, so double check your hardiness zones before you do anything, before you plant. If you're not sure, and especially if you're ordering plants from far away, okay? Because just because they sell it in BC doesn't mean it'll grow here in central Canada. So double check everything before you put in your order, before you put down money. That is about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. We'll see you tomorrow.